I realized last week that it's been a year since I uploaded that first video, and I thought it would be nice to record something 1 year on. And I've been thinking a lot about, well, there's this idea of the unconscious. One way of talking about it as being like the submerged depths of the ocean that we can't get to in our everyday states of being, right? That we operate sort of above the surface of the ocean, and that beneath that, however, is a whole world going on that has all sorts of sway over the currents of the surface above, and therefore the manner in which we move in day-to-day life. And I've always thought about how in therapy, but also in other realms of life, not just therapy, but in therapy, part of what we're doing is sort of tugging on and exploring what I call the tentacles that extend down under the water, like the tentacles of the unconscious. So if you will give me all these mixed metaphors, what I thought of yesterday was how on the one hand, there are these tentacles, right? And in therapy, what we might be attempting to do there is to help a person to notice that there may be tentacles at play, that we might be able together to begin to bring some of those slowly to the surface, sometimes not so slowly, to be able to look at them together, to be able to make sense of them, to understand them again in a conscious manner, bringing our everyday awareness to them, and also starting to integrate those tentacles into our everyday functioning and the manner in which we might move about the world. So that part's always been quite clear to me. But what I realized yesterday is an additional angle to that is that in so doing, in so bringing, some of the tentacles up to the surface, I'm not sure that we can do it with all of them, but in bringing some of them to the surface, part of what that helps a person to do is to move more freely, because it's like pulling up anchors. It is removing some of the weight that is occurring under the surface that holds us in place, that keeps us in a more rigid position. So working with the unconscious not only is about being able to make some of the unconscious conscious, but I think it's also the clarity piece. I've been using the word clarity a lot recently, but I guess here it would be not so much clarity, but freedom of movement. It removes some of the unconscious weight that keeps us stuck, that keeps us held in place, that keeps the possibility of movement that we feel is open to us much more restricted than it otherwise needs to be. So it's a freeing up. It's a freeing up of a person's unconscious weight that can occur alongside the new kind of meaning making and understandings that a person can come to once they are able to re-examine material and experiences and feelings and urges and wishes and fears and desires, once they're able to reintroduce themselves to those and bring them into their everyday awareness and see anew. So I think both of those pieces really matter. And putting it in those terms about the reduction of the weight that holds us in place under the surface, adding that piece to this has helped me to have the language to be able to declaratively translate some of these felt sense concepts in a way that takes into account the opening up that occurs on the other side of a therapy that takes into account the unconscious psychodynamic work. For me, it's ISTDP, but there's other forms of therapy that deals with the unconscious. And I believe it is that that freeing up of the weight under the surface, that is the same thing as opening up on the other side of a intensive psychodynamic experiential emotion focused therapy. And the reduction, I think, too, of exhaustion or sense of effortfulness that people experience is required to make new kinds of movements or to venture outside of the current day way of being. It's like imagining someone is walking around without knowing that they have these extreme weights on their legs. And what would happen if those weights were taken off, or at least some of them, and the exuberance and the vitality that a person might feel to suddenly experience how much more possibility there is now in terms of movement for them, that the effort required to move has reduced. And so now there is just so much more around them that feels accessible, that they feel excited to explore or to venture into new territory. And so that opening up of the possibility space is also part of what I see happen on the other side of this sort of therapy. And I think that this using this tentacles idea, and now bringing in that a conscious exploration and assessment of some of these tentacles, are bringing them to the surface, goes hand in hand with the idea that there is less that is holding a person stuck in place, and that there is a greater felt sense, conscious awareness, conscious experience of being able to take action, being able to move, opening up to flexibility, resilience, all of these terms. So that's where my mind has been. And in light of the fact that I realized last week was 1 year since I uploaded my first video on this channel, I thought that I would just offer that out into the world, and just to capture where my mind is today, 1 year on. And I should say that the way I'm thinking about these things has followed a journey of conversations with people over this last year that has been extraordinarily rewarding. And I've met so many friends. I've met so many people who have been so gracious with their time and with their energy and their willingness to talk with me, to explore these ideas with me. You know, this is a putting together of pieces that also involves my exploration of this idea of authentic resonance, the rigor of mystery that sort of started off with this idea that I've always held around the rigor of mystery, and sort of taking a leap into that which feels mysterious, as a rigor, that there is something here, right? It has its own kind of rigor. That was really probably the starting point of me jumping into these sorts of conversations. And then the next piece to that, actually recording some of them and putting them out like on my own channel. And then from there, starting to build this idea of authentic resonance, which is an ongoing exploration. There was also a period of time that I was exploring this idea of toxic comfort. So it's been a real journey this last year, and I'm so thankful to the people I've met along the way. And you know, there's a mixture of the good and the bad in that, just like everything in life. And I've learned a lot from each set of experiences. So I'm finding my own clarity around what it is I want to share here, and following the same instinct inside that I followed when I posted that first video, which is that I mean, at this stage, this could obviously change, but I really have no interest in how many people want to watch these videos. It's more about following the thread of what feels meaningful for me to be thinking through with others, and then offering it just out into the world, because it was similar kinds of offerings that I found online that led me to bring more of this up inside me, I guess, and then out into conversation and community. And so it's a passing that along for what it's, but if anything, this is a little video for my future self. And so that's where my thinking's at right at this moment. And when I have more time, I look forward to sharing more. And I have some talks coming up with Seth and with Daniel that I'm really excited about. We have a series of conversations scheduled to continue to explore this authentic resonance thread. And I'm really enjoying my time over at Voicecraft. So if someone is actually watching this and you're interested, I strongly suggest that you check out the Voicecraft channel, and then the Voicecraft website, just to get a sense of the overall project and what's involved. So thank you to anyone who is watching or who has watched any of the videos, and I look forward to continuing to share.